everybody, it's Brent within my head channel, and I'm back with another video today. And I've got my good buddy Rick from It's All For You Demon here.
Hello.
And the day we're shooting this Rick, is actually the anniversary of the solo albums. So I've got my solo albums flying in the background there. And this time of year, I really listen to the solo album. And I get something out of every one of the solo albums. I have favorites that I like more than others, but I get something out of every single one of them. Do you have a listening order you listen to them in?
I don't have a listening order, but I do have a sort of seasonal preference. October, like you said, fall and October is the perfect time for the solo albums. Gene is perfect anytime to me. Peter is a rainy day record, and I don't know why. And then Paul is a night record.
Mm-hmm.
It has, to me, like at night in your car with the windows down, Paul's album's perfect.
And didn't you tell me one time, if I'm not misquoting you, but didn't you say Aces is kind of like a summer album?
Ace is the one that, of all four, Ace can be a summer, winter, and fall album.
Yes, I agree. So,
and I think I always associate the winter because of the blue. I don't know why I do that.
Yeah,
I'm odd.
Maybe, and you know, just talking about the solo albums a little bit here, leading into what we're going to do. The solo albums were very huge. I remember when the solo albums came out. The solo albums was just it's almost like we've talked about before. They're like Santa Claus. It's like the Norman Rockwell when he painted Santa Claus. I think if that's who painted him, he became Santa Claus. And so this Kiss, this version here behind me, the color scheme, Gene became red, Paul became purple, Ace blue, Peter green. It basically is the image I was talking to you before. It's the image of Kiss that everybody has kind of come to know ever since then. So, but what if these hadn't happened? What if they would have made an album in 1978? That's what we're going to talk about. Me and Rick have picked 10 tracks. I don't know, Rick, if you made a track listing. I didn't put mine in the order of a track listing, but if you wanted to...
I did not either.
I figured, I didn't want to really get into the semantics of that. So I figured we would just be like, here's 10 songs that would have made a good 1978 album. And what I want you to try to get out of your head when we're talking about this, is not the way they sound on the albums, but what they would have sounded like if Kiss would have performed them. So what I basically did, just so you know the format, was I started with Gene's album on my side, and then I went to Peter's, and then I went to Ace's, and then I went to Paul's. Okay. You can go in however order you want to.
I'll do the same order.
Okay. So since you're my guest, I'm going to let you start. So, you're first of the 10, and we are doing 10 tracks.
So, starting with Gene, Radioactive.
Okay.
Would have been my first choice.
Exactly.
Such a great Gene song, and I think the band playing this song would have rocked it even more than it is on his solo record. I think it would have been a great song with the members of Kiss playing.
Mm-hmm. My first track off of Gene's album that I think would have been great would have been Radioactive. I agree with you. That's my track as well. I don't think it'd been a good opening track for the album like it opens his album. Now, would you had all the wah 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 and all the you'd had all that stuff? I do too, because I think it makes the song. It's part of the song. It's not an intro. It's part of the song. It sets the mood for it. So maybe a good opening to side 2. But it'd be great opening, kind of like a Charisma, side 2 type. So, we both said Radioactive out of the gate. This is going to be interesting to see whose album gets more love and what songs we pick. So this is fun. All right, so what's your next track?
Mr. Make Believe.
Mister.
Absolutely, I love that song.
I
I
love Mr. Make Believe too.
I love Gene's softer side.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, First time I ever really noticed it was Going Blind
Mm-hmm.
from Hotter Than Hell. Um, I love Journey of a Thousand Years from
Mm-hmm.
Psycho Circus. Mr. Make Believe. Gene's solo album was the first Kiss album I grew up hearing Crazy Nights, hearing Asylum, but when my buddy Dan introduced me to Kiss, he had Phantom of the Park and Gene's solo album on cassette. So Gene's solo cassette was kind of my first dive into the band. And man, Mr. Make Believe kind of changed me. I don't know why. I love the lyrics, I love the imagery, and if you think about it, the song's about people wanting to be someone else, and that's kind of what we do. Like Gene is our Mr. Make Believe,
Mm-hmm.
and I think I kind of resonated with that when I was 15. You know, staring at this album cover, like wanting to be a part of this world, and that song just kind of and that song moved me a lot. So that's my number two pick.
One of the things about Gene's solo album that I love and I admire, Gene, I think, was the most intimate with songs like Mr. Make Believe, Man of a Thousand Faces. His album was almost biographical. So, speaking of Man of a Thousand Faces, that would be my track number two. I think Man of a Thousand Faces would have been a great done as a Kiss song because it does have some rocking parts, even though it has that orchestra in it that I'm not the hugest fan of. But it has those places where it goes that dun dun dun, stuff like that. Because if that had been guitars, even if Kiss got a little experimental at this point in time and maybe put some orchestration in there, I think that would have been cool.
That strangely enough, as much of a fan of Gene's I am, those are the only two songs I chose from Gene.
Okay. Well, I only chose two off of Gene's too.
Okay.
All right. So we move on to Peter.
Peter. First track I chose from Peter, You Matter to Me.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Absolutely, absolutely love that song. I love the disco feel it has.
Mm-hmm. It definitely does. Mm-hmm.
I love those like
We do.
yeah, that Barney Miller sort of keyboard in the background, that Welcome Back Cotter vibe that that song has.
It's 70s. Like I said, it screams 70s.
And I think it would have been such a fun track for Kiss the band to do. It would have been a departure for him, but it would have been a great track. That's my first choice from Peter.
Okay. You Matter to Me, I think, is great. But I didn't choose it. And so I think Easy Thing would have been a great Kiss song. I think it would have been great on a 1978 album. I just love the simpleness of the acoustic and how it is and how it just kind of builds. The only thing I don't really like about it is when the background singers come in at the end. I think Kiss I would have liked to see them done something a little different, even though they did use female background singers in some of the albums from the 70s, like off of Love Gun, I think they had some, and Tomorrow and Tonight had background singers in it, the female background singers. And I knew that they were becoming a fan of doing stuff like that, and that was big in the 70s, so they were just kind of going along with trends. But Easy Thing, I love that, the opening line, love is so hard. Love is so hard to find. I mean, I love that. But love's such an easy thing to lose. That right there is deep for Kiss. You know what I'm saying? And I know he didn't write it, but that would have been a deep song for Kiss. So it would have been a good song for Peter to have on this album. So I choose Easy Thing off of his album.
Yeah, that would have been a great song to have like some harmonies too, like a Peter and Paul harmony. That would have been awesome. All right, so my next pick from Peter is Don't Let Me Down.
Don't You Let Me Down.
Yeah, I love that track. That's probably the first track I fell in love with from his record, and I think in the vein of Hard Luck Woman would have been a great song to hear the band play.
Yeah, I agree. I agree totally. I really like "Don't You Let Me Down" too. It's one of my favorite songs off that album, but it's not one that I picked. Uh, my strategy with Peter, I only picked two songs off his album. Uh, I love "I Can't Stop the Rain," but I didn't pick it. So I wanted a little bit of a rockin' Peter on here. So I would have chose "Tossin' and Turnin'." Because they actually did play it live on the Dynasty tour.
Mm-hmm.
And but "Tossin' and Turnin'" I just think it's probably one of the best rocking songs on Peter's. It's got that good guitar. I would have liked to hear Ace playing some of that stuff, and and I mean, and even Kiss doing the do 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 instead of the women doing it, but having Paul or Gene in the background, Gene with his high harmony, and Paul with the his harmony and stuff. I think it would sound really good. I think not really don't really need the horns and not really the saxophone solo because that screams Bob Seger in the '70s too. Every time I hear that saxophone come in, I'm like, is this a Silver Bullet Band song?
Yeah.
Because it just screams that. But have Ace do a solo instead. I think it would have been awesome. So yeah, my second track off of Peter would have been "Tossin' and Turnin'."
I only chose two Peter tracks as well, so we are right on track with our picks.
All right, so we move on to Ace because Ace is usually who I listen to next. So we move on to Ace.
All right, my first track from Ace is oddly I didn't choose. Well, my first track is Snowblind.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Just that I think with Ace and Paul, I didn't have to think about too hard, like what would it sound like if Kiss recorded these? Because to me, Ace and Paul are the most Kiss sounding records. Yeah, I just think Snowblind. Oh man, would have been killer.
I love that riff. That
yeah.
dun-dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. And I love when Ace speeds up for his solos.
Mm-hmm.
That "Lost in Space," Ace, Ace, da-da-da-da-da. And I love that solo that he does on "Snowblind" is one of my favorite solos on his album.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so "Snowblind" for you. All right, my first track off of Ace's album, even though I love "Snowblind," I didn't pick it. First track that I chose, and even though I'm not the hugest fan of this song, it's not one of my favorite songs off of his album, but I think it would have been a good Kiss song. It definitely would have been a selling point for the album, and that would have been "Rip It Out." If "Rip It Out," I don't think Peter could have done the stuff that Anton Fig did. I know he couldn't have, but if they would have maybe done it in a style, Ace's album, it gets real tricky because one of the biggest factors to Ace's album is not only his guitar playing and his singing, but it's also the drumming that goes along on his album. And Anton Fig and Peter were in two different worlds at that time. But I think Peter could have done, or maybe who knows? Maybe Ace records his tracks with Anton. Who knows? You know what I'm saying? And Peter plays on the rest of the album, and Ace records his tracks with Anton. Who knows? But I chose "Rip It Out" because I think that it's a song off that album that would have been represented on a 1978 album.
Mm-hmm. My next track is "Ozone."
Okay.
It's just kind of in the same vein as "Snowblind." It's a little bit of Ace's personality on a Kiss record.
That swagger.
Like it would be like his persona, kind of like "Shock Me" was on Love Gun. It would be his persona just on a Kiss record. Ozone it's so sleazy and so good. Great song.
Yeah, I totally agree because I think it's one of those songs you could have just pulled it off of his album and stuck it onto a '78 album because it sounds so Kiss, it sounds so Ace, it shocked me, it's 2000 Man, and I really like that song so much that is the song my next song that I would have chose. I love Ozone.
Oh, wow.
I love Ozone. Just the way it starts off, just that simple, and then it gets into that and that just hold that lazy, I just love Ozone. And Ozone, it's not my favorite solo because he just basically does a scale. He's just he's just it's almost like he got lazy on the solo for that one, but the rest of the song just kicks so much ass it doesn't really matter. So Ozone for me too. Now, do you have another track off of Ace's album?
Yes, Ace and Paul. I chose 3 for both.
Okay, all right.
So my next track for Ace, the guy's a guitar hero. He's a guitar god. Thousands of kids picked up their guitar because of Ace in the 70s. You have to give him a solo on a Kiss record. Fractured Mirror would have to be on this record.
Okay, so you stuck Fractured Mirror on it. Stick it at the end?
Yeah.
Stick it at the end? All right. So, yeah, because that's true. And that, I would have probably, I feel like an asshole now because I would have taken Fractured Mirror away from him. He could have done it on his solo album, his first post-Kiss solo album. But I'm an asshole because I'd have took it away from him. And I would have given them I'm in Need of Love because the lyrical content on I'm in Need of Love is not the most deep. I mean, he's just basically saying, I want some love, so give me some. I need some love. I love the riff. Yeah. And then the solo in it is hands down my favorite solo on this album. I love I'm in Need of Love. It's one of my favorite songs off his album, and I couldn't have left it off. So that does it for me. And then we move on to the last 3 tracks with Paul.
So Paul, my first track, of course, would be Tonight You Belong to Me.
Okay.
Just a great opening track. It's classic Kiss. It's basically, to me, Kiss kind of grew, and after Love Gun, they just grew in kind of their complexity of songwriting. You can hear it on Dynasty, songs like Sure Know Something, even I Was Made for Loving You, and Tonight You Belong to Me is that. And so I think it'd just be a perfect track for a Kiss record. Okay.
I agree. It is my first pick off of Paul's album. It is also the album that I would, it's also the song that I would start the album with. I think it's the perfect opening track. It's the better opening track of any of them. Tonight You Belong to Me is one of the best songs I think Paul ever wrote. And I love the way that he did it. He shows off his maturity in his songwriting, his complexity in his songwriting. So, yeah, I love Tonight You Belong to Me.
My next pick from the Paul record would be Take Me Away, Together as One. You and I have talked about this song before. It's Zeppelin-like massiveness. And, nothing against Carmine Appice. Great drummer. But I would have just loved to have heard Peter give the drums hell on this song. I love Peter as a drummer, especially in like the 75, 76 era. He was on fire. And if he could bring that energy to this song as a band song, I think it would have been amazing.
I agree. I think Peter would have not done Ace's songs the way Anton Fig did. And on this particular song, he wouldn't have done it the way Carmine did. But I wouldn't have wanted him to. I would have wanted him to put that Peter signature on it that he had. And Peter always gets a bad rap. But Peter was an excellent drummer. Would he have done it exactly the same as those two guys did? No. But you set any drummer in there without somebody telling them specifically what to play, they're going to interpret something their own way. So Peter would have done it too. I agree with you totally on this to the point that Take Me Away is my next choice off this album. It's hands down my favorite song on the album. So I'm very curious about number 3, because I think number 3, we've been the same on the first 2. So I think number 3, I want to see if we stay together or if one's going to go this way and one's going to go this way. Because there's a lot of good songs left on his album to go. So.
I'm probably gonna go this way on you, but I love this song and I chose Goodbye. One of my favorite songs on that record. This sounds crazy for me to say, but like the Paul record, the last 2 tracks kind of get ignored, I think. Kind of like Van Halen 1984, that album. The last 2 tracks on that record kind of get ignored, and to me, the last 2 tracks on Paul's record are kind of the cream that rises to the top. I love Goodbye. I think it would have been a perfect band song, and a perfect way to end an album. And I think the band would have rocked it, and it just would have been a great send off to a 1978 Kiss record.
I remember when being a kid hearing, oh shit, Paul's saying goodbye. You know, what does this mean? Because there's the rumors of the band breaking up. Paul's saying goodbye. What's this? Is this a hidden message? My third song and the final track I would have stuck on this album that would make it 10 from Paul. My final track would be It's Alright. I love It's Alright. I love that. And I love the way Paul sings when it kicks in, and he's in that mid-range that I'm pretty good at taking care of myself. Oh, you know, I love that.
There's a lot of swagger in that.
Yeah,
song.
and that you know, it's all right if you want me. So, talking to you guys now, those of you who are still watching, hopefully you've watched this far. Interact with us. Put down in the comments if you was to make a 1978 album based on the songs from the solos, and be original. You can't say Ace's album. If you would, if you can make a solo album, give every one of them some love. At least give Peter a song. At least give, if you're not the biggest fan of Gene's album, give Gene a song. But anyway, guys, put your comments down there. Tell us what songs you would like to have on this album. What you would think would be good. Little bonus. What would you have named the album, Rick? For those who are sticking at the end, if you're going to pick a track off the album, what would you have named the album?
Using a track title?
Yeah, use a track. I know that they weren't big on doing that. I mean, they did it for Love Gun.
I would say Ozone.
Ozone? Mm-hmm. I think Radioactive would have been a good name.
Ooh, perfect.
I think Radioactive would have been a good name. It's in that line with Dynasty, you know, Radioactive Dynasty. It's dangerous, you know. I think it would have been a good name for the album. So anyway, what would you guys name the album? Those of you still watching, and if you are still watching, be sure to check out this guy's channel right here, Rick. It's All For You Demon. You can find him on YouTube. Just search It's All For You Demon. He's got great content, and I look forward whenever I get a notification. Be sure to click to get the notifications for him. Subscribe to him and subscribe to me. Click notifications, because I look forward whenever I get a notification from him that he's put a new video up. I usually try to get it watched as soon as I can, because I'm always looking forward to what he's going to do next. So anyway, I'm the same way for
your videos, man.
All right, I really appreciate it. I really appreciate all the support from you guys out there watching. Me and Rick appreciate you, all of you. We appreciate you very much. So we're going to go ahead and close this out. Hope you enjoyed it. And if you do, we'll be around. We always plotting. We always stirring something up in a pot. So we'll be back for more in the future. So we'll close this video out. I'm Brant.
I'm Rick.
And we'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, guys.
Time